and we move on to our next Robot Master, which happens to be my favorite, Napalm Man. Now, Napalm Man's two main abilities is he shoots out a string of 3 missiles, or when it gets close to you, he shoots out an arcing shot of 2 napalm bombs that explode when they hit the ground. They're relatively easy to dodge because they don't move too far from his body, so they're pretty easy to move around. He's firing where you were standing, however, they move so slowly that you're able to get away from them rather quickly. Just keep dodging and moving, and when he jumps, if you need to, slide underneath of him so you don't take any damage from his body, and just fire when you can. He's done, and we move on to our next one, which happens to be Gyro Man. Now, Gyro Man is probably the hardest of all the Robot Masters in this game, in my opinion. He shoots out that spinning blade, which does a lot of damage, but then flies up into the air so you can't see him, because his body's being blocked by the clouds in the foreground. You want to try to keep moving in this stage so he doesn't accidentally land on you, and then jump over the blades when he does shoot them out, because they do a good chunk of damage when they hit you. When he lands is when you can give him a full blast of the Mega Buster Charge shot. And after a good amount of them, he is taken care of, and the hardest Robot Master will then be defeated. We go ahead and grab a little bit of health, which we were pretty low on, and we move on to the last Robot Master, which is Charge Man. The steamed engine Robot Master, who acts like a train, is relatively easy to dodge because he really just charges at you quickly, in which case you can sometimes get him in a loop. Just have him follow you a little bit. When it gets to the end, he'll do a little bit of steam from his head, letting you know that he's getting ready to do his speed-up charge. And then after a little while, he'll get a little ticked off and try to shoot a steam ball up in the air, which ends up being 3 flaming rocks that come down at you, which are relatively easy to move around. However, if you do get hit, they just do a little bit of damage. But you can deliver a lot of quick hits on them, and then we move on to our Wily stage boss. Now, this boss can be a little bit of a pain to deal with, as it moves back and forth, and then he'll stop and he'll reveal Dr. Wily inside the machine, and then the ground will move upwards and the machine will come down as well, kind of meeting in the middle there where he lands. But when he comes down like that, you'll be able to jump up and deliver your shot. Wherever he stops, you just want to make sure that you're not on the same platform as him, or you're at least, if you are on the same platform, a good enough distance away so that he won't hit you when he lands. The most important thing is just make sure that you're not on the spikes when he ends up moving up or down. You don't want to end up losing a life here. Continue moving back and forth, delivering those full charged up shots, which you can see do a good chunk of damage off of his health. And after only a minute or so, his health will be drained, and he'll be taken care of. Now, of course, we think we've defeated Dr. Wily, however, he has an escape pod from his machine, which shoots up, and now we're going to follow him in to the final of Wily's Castle stages. Now, this stage is very straightforward. It's just a long hallway with a few of the big mechs that we fought before. If you want to try to take him out, you can, or you could use Napalm Man's bomb ability. Just fire a couple shots into him to take him out rather easily. When we make it to the end here, we're going to fall down this corridor. Watch out for this guy right here, shoot him with a napalm bomb. And then fall down a very long corridor, land on the platform, and then head to the right. We have one last of the mechs to take care of, throw some bombs at them, and then we move into the final boss's lair. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my Mega Buster before the boss battle really begins. And now you want to fire all your Mega Buster shots into that skull mouth opening. He has the ability to try to suck you in there when he pulls you in, however, it's really easy to move away from him. And the missiles are really easy to jump over. Usually if you're going to jump over one, the next one that he shoots out is usually going to go over your head. The only other annoyance is that bouncing blue ball that comes around you. However, it's pretty easy to dodge, and if it does hit you, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Once that's done, the final boss actually begins. In very similar fashion to some of the other Wily final bosses, and he moves around in his little ship, firing these multiple shots at you. This is where Beat the Bird actually comes in handy. Because Wily sometimes appears too far up, you won't be able to hit him with a normal Mega Buster shot. So you go ahead and use Beat the Bird in order to hit him when he's way up there, so you can start draining his health. Now this is a little bit of a long process to try to take him out with Beat the Bird and just a single shot Mega Buster. If you wanted to, you could just take him out with a fully charged Mega Buster shot when it came down. However, with the bird equipped, you can't charge up your Mega Buster, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but I guess understandable not to make the bird, I guess, extremely powerful. The only thing is, he keeps appearing at the top, so the bird keeps doing a little bit of damage each time he appears. But try to take him out, and the bird always knows, of course, where Dr. Wily is going to appear first. As you can see, he travels towards where Wily is going to be next. With only a couple more hits left, we now only have one last hit, and there it is. Dr. Wily pops out of the machine, and instead of begging for forgiveness like he usually does right away, instead he tries to make a run for it, as Mega Man then gives chase. After we chase him for a little while, we see Dr. Light captured in the cage, in which case then Dr. Wily begs for forgiveness. Mega Man goes up and frees Dr. Light real quick, and then Wily starts running around. Dr. Light starts panicking as the ceiling collapses, Mega Man barely holding it up with his hands with all his strength, as Wily of course bails out and leaves, leaving us to try to fend for ourselves. However, with a little help from Proto Man, we were able to escape. The ceiling falls all the way, and we escape with Dr. Light and Proto Man. All is good, all is well. However, Dr. Wily has once again escaped. Now, just like all the other Mega Man games, they all end with a similar credits, as we're going to see the number of the robot, and then we'll start seeing the credits roll on the other side as well, until they show all the robot bosses. And then they move on to kind of a classic credit scrolling screen. Now, Mega Man 5 was of course near the end of the NES, coming out in '92, so it may not have been as popular as some of the earlier titles, and since it's basically the same game as the other ones, some people really didn't see why it was such a great game. However, doing the same thing over and over again in each game is actually fun and what made Mega Man so great. You had new Robot Masters in each game, something different that at least added something to change up the game, whether it was the slide ability, whether it was the charge-up ability, whether it was collecting the letters in this game, and what we'll see is we'll have more collection to do in Mega Man 6. However, they did shorten it a little bit by only making it 4 letters to spell out the word beat. However, beat's really not as useful as he was in this game, but the thing that makes it a little bit different is they actually have, in several of the stages, of the 4 stages, including the beat letters, instead of collecting them throughout the level, you actually have to find a second hidden boss room. You have like the regular boss room containing the Robot Master, and then you have a second one which you have to go a separate path to get to, which is I guess the real Robot Master room, in which case by defeating him you not only get the ability, but also the next piece that spells out the word beat. At this point, Mega Man was definitely trying to go more towards that whole collection thing, as we would then see in the Mega Man X series, as well as Mega Man 7 for the SNES. Collection became more a part of it. There was a lot more to collect, especially starting with the Mega Man X series as a whole. You had tons of different upgrades to grab for your suit, as well as energy tanks that worked differently than the ones we were used to in the regular Mega Man series, allowing you to use any of your extra health you gain when you have full health. It would go towards those energy tanks so that you could go ahead and use it later, and you could keep reusing them. And even though Mega Man 5 and 6 may be not as popular as some of the earlier Mega Man titles like Mega Man 2, they're definitely still great games in the NES library. Not many games captured everything that was so great about the NES and put it into any style of game. Now, Capcom may have done that 6 times, adding just little things to make it different each time. They always had great soundtracks and great gameplay, and it was beautiful to look at no matter which Mega Man game you were playing. So as our credits finish up, we see our classic Present It By, and then we have it followed up by Beat the Bird flying in, spelling out the word Capcom, and that is the end of Mega Man 5. With that, that's going to wrap up another edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.